I've never met two people in the world that care about money in such a focused manner. It's always been, how can we accomplish more for the most vulnerable people?
Welcome to The Alternative Investor, the definitive show for investors seeking private alternative investments. Here's your host, Matt Johns.
Today, I had an inspiring conversation with Tommy Martin, the CEO of the Tebow Group, the family office, talent management firm, creative agency, and technology accelerator founded by Tim and Demi Lee Tebow. The Tebow Group's mission is to fuel and amplify faith, hope, and love in support of some of the most vulnerable people, the real MVPs around the world. They focus on purposeful investing and helping great people and great companies go further, faster. Now, before stepping into this role, Tommy built a remarkable career in the financial services industry. He founded, led, and successfully exited multiple nationwide firms, which collectively managed more than $2 billion. His impact earned him national recognition, including being named to Investment News' inaugural list of the top 40 advisors under 40, and highlighted him as one of the top 8 visionaries expected to lead the financial industry into its next era. Tommy has also served as the Financial Planning Department Chair at Taylor University and is even a best-selling financial author himself. Even with all of his personal success, you can hear the passion behind the work he's leading at the Tebow Group. If you needed a little inspiration, you're in the right place. Welcome to my conversation with Tommy Martin. You're recovering well, right?
I'm getting there, Matt. So yeah, it was 10 days ago. I had rotator cuff surgery. And man, it is brutal. Everybody tried to warn me. I was like, oh, I'll be fine. No, it has kicked my butt. But I'm doing pretty well. I actually headed tomorrow to Washington, D.C. We've got some pretty important meetings with Congress and others, and also the National Day of Prayer. And Tim Tebow, my business partner, I'm sure we'll get into some of that.
Oh, yeah.
Is actually hosting the National Day of Prayer tomorrow in Washington. So I'm very excited to be part of that.
That's great. Any meetings you're looking for in particular when you're there?
Yes, but I'm not allowed to talk about them.
That works for me. That's great. Well, that'll be an incredible experience. You expecting a number of people to be there?
We've been told that the National Day of Prayer actually goes out to billions of people around the globe. So I'm not sure how that all works, but we're told that by people we trust quite a lot. So it's
powerful.
It's a pretty big deal and a great way to really just share faith with the world.
You mentioned Tim and you mentioned working with him. Tell me a little bit about that relationship and how that's come to be. How did you meet him in the first place? Now that you're business partners working with the Tebow Group, where did that all start?
Yeah, it really started over a decade ago. So I was a business builder, built several companies, and had sold those in my mid-30s and retired for 2 days. And Matt, by the end of the second day, my wife was like, you need purpose. And she was, pushing me out of the house like, you need purpose in life. And she was right. And we had decided we did not need our own family foundation because we loved so much the work that the Tim Tebow Foundation was already doing. And so for us, it was very simple. Like, it was a business decision. Why would we start over and do our own thing and create our own new set of overhead when we could see from a distance? We'd never met Tim. We'd never expected to. But from a distance, we could see they were doing work with excellence. And so we just wanted to be part of that. We were grateful to do that from a distance, became contributors to the foundation, and out of our legacy, became significant contributors to the foundation in a way that they didn't even know about at that time.
Interesting.
And then fast forward over the next decade, I built some more companies. Did some really fun investing in the venture capital space, continue to do that today. But it was really all of those various things and some really fun God moments that I think really pushed us together. And got a call a couple years ago from Tim's team, and they said, hey, we really need someone to run the for-profit side of the world so that Tim and his wife, Demi Lee, could spend more time on the nonprofit side of the world, really impacting some of the most vulnerable people around the globe. And initially, I didn't think it would work. I live in Indiana, they're in Florida, just for a lot of various reasons. But once they read me in on the work that we do behind the scenes to rescue kids that we can't even talk about publicly, once I understood that, I couldn't say no, man. It was
Hmm.
like, oh man, I have to be part of this. And so been very grateful to be part of it. So I get to lead the for-profit side of the world so that really with the main purpose that Tim and Demi Lee can spend more time and energy on the nonprofit side of the world, impacting some of the most vulnerable people around the globe.
That's fascinating. So you got in from the nonprofit philanthropic side first, and then that's how you developed the relationship. Then from there, recognized your abilities, and you developed that relationship with him. And now you're taking on this for-profit side, which we're going to get into in a minute, because I love the mission piece of this and how it drives a lot of that philanthropic effort. But what made them jump to you first and say that Tommy's our guy? He's got to be leading this for-profit venture side.
I there's a lot of pieces that come along the way, Matt. So it wasn't just an immediate jump. It was we spent a lot of time getting to know everyone we interface
Hmm.
with because trust matters, and I think trust takes time. And so it was really a 5 year journey of getting to know each other that ultimately led to that side of it. And we got to do some really fun work together on the investment side. So that was investing in healthcare venture capital, which is a great intersection. So healthcare, the Tim Tebow Foundation, actually one of the main four verticals of vulnerable people that the Tim Tebow Foundation serves are people with a profound medical illness. And so maybe they've been given a diagnosis of a life threatening illness. Maybe they were born with a life threatening physical condition, and we want to come alongside those people. And so our healthcare venture capital fund is actively investing in companies that are trying to build up healthcare solutions for vulnerable people. So there's this really nice intersection that happened just quite naturally. And then on top of that, again, I really think the best answer, there were just some really fun God moments along the way that kind of pushed us together. We don't share most of those publicly. We get to keep a little bit of things for ourselves. But yeah, all that led to just this incredible working relationship. And people ask me all the time, Matt, like, are Tim and Demi Lee, are they as kind? Are they as passionate? Are they really as faith led as what the world sees? And my answer is they're actually more. I get to see them behind the scenes, and my just level of respect is probably greater than most of the world that just sees them from afar. And so it's really powerful and makes life easy when I get to serve alongside of just such incredible people that really are trying to be as faith led as they can be in their business endeavors and in their endeavors to help vulnerable populations around the world.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I'll tell you what, when I met Tim, I've never met somebody so mission aligned. And I remember saying, and I think I said this to you too when we first met, that I've never met somebody so mission aligned in his entire life as the way Tim laid out his vision and the way he approaches life. And to hear that it's the same way behind the scenes, that's not just something you hear from a stage or out in public, is a really special thing. But you're really aligned with this mission too, and that's why you're in it. So tell me a little bit about the mission, what you guys are doing, about the MVPs, and who you're genuinely serving through all the endeavors that you're doing.
Well, I love it. I love how Tim and Demi Lee call it the real MVP, not the most valuable player, but the most vulnerable people. And that means more. I can say this. They would never say this, but Tim's a 3-time Heisman finalist. Talk about an MVP. Demi is a former Miss Universe. Talk about an MVP. And yet they say, no, it's not about us. The real MVP is the most vulnerable people around the world. The Tim Tebow Foundation exists to bring faith, hope, and love to those needing a brighter day in their darkest hour of need. And so that shows up in the way that they care for some of the most vulnerable people, that real MVP around the globe. But what Tim was doing behind the scenes, Matt, that I think is so fascinating, and he just did it naturally. Like he didn't sit down with some business school strategy handbook and figure this out. It just came natural to him. he was still playing professional sports when the Tim Tebow Foundation was launched. And so somehow, like innately, he knew I can't be the guy to go out and do all the hands-on work. So how do I build an effective charitable organization? And he decided, I'm going to partner with who I think are some of the best at what they do around the world. And I'm going to give them time to validate that. And so they would come alongside, partner with a world-class organization or one that they thought was world-class, partner with them for 4 or 5 years. And if things went really well, then they would bring that organization under the Tebow Foundation umbrella and very much in a shared services model, like we would think about in normal mergers and acquisitions. Tim was figuring all that out. It just came naturally to him. And so today there's over 26 ministry partners under the hood at the Tim Tebow Foundation. These are truly some of the best at what they do around the world, serving vulnerable people. And after they prove themselves, then they may come under the umbrella where we help with all of the administrative functions so that they can spend all of their time focused on what they do best, loving and caring for some of the most vulnerable people around the globe.
And you're talking about the philanthropic side, the nonprofit side of things, right?
This is the foundation side. Tim was building almost like a mergers and acquisitions model with shared services. Again, he didn't sit down with a business school strategy playbook. He just naturally figured out this was the most effective way for him to be able to operate as a professional athlete who cared deeply about these issues and these vulnerable people. This was the most effective way he could do it, was partner with organizations doing world-class work. And then once we actually validate and prove that they are really, really elite at what they do, then bring them under our broader umbrella and take over their basic behind the scenes functions so that they can laser focus on caring and loving on vulnerable people. And so that's the philanthropic side. That's the nonprofit side. The for-profit side, the Tebow Group, that is our function where we run our business entities for Tim and Demi Lee Tebow. And we operate all of their brand partnerships, all of their creative storytelling in the books that we share with the world, all of their speaking engagements, and then all of the purposeful investing that we get to do in trying to figure out investments that can help further the mission. And so our mission on the for-profit side of the house, I absolutely love it. It's the best mission I've ever gotten to work for in my life, Matt. But our mission is to fuel and amplify faith, hope, and love. And the fuel side, I always think of that as we're there to put financial gas in the tank over at the Tim Tebow Foundation. It is Tim and Demi Lee's desire, if possible, they would love it if they could fully fund the administrative overhead at the foundation so that when there's outside partners like my family or your family or maybe your listeners, if they get engaged, that their dollars could go 100% towards supporting some of the most vulnerable people. And so that's the fuel side of our mission. And the amplify side of our mission, I believe, is really to amplify the voice of some of the most vulnerable people around the globe. It's not about us. It's not even about the Tim Tebow Foundation. The amplify side of our mission is to amplify the voices of some of the most vulnerable people. And boy, I pinch myself almost every day, Matt. I get up and come to work with a mission to fuel and amplify faith, hope, and love. Like, are you kidding me? Just sign me up. Sign me up, man. I will do this till they kick me out and I can't do it anymore. And so all the businesses we operate under the hood, it is with that purpose of how do we use those companies to fuel and amplify faith, hope, and love. And the investments that we do, it's with that purpose of how is investing in this, whatever it might be, investment, how is that going to help us further that mission of fueling and amplifying faith, hope, and love?
That's the thing, though. It's so mission aligned that those investments aren't even really morally neutral. I mean, you've achieved moral neutrality, of course, in everything that you're vetting, but it goes beyond that because everything has to be mission aligned on the venture side too, which I don't think I've seen that nearly as direct as you guys do it. So tell me a little bit about that and how you're sourcing deals, what you're looking at, and specifically how it fits in. How does it have to fit into these verticals that you're looking at for your
Well,
mission?
you're kind to say that, we figured it out. I will hear with, that we have not. I think we're trying to be as intentional as we can, and we are pursuing excellence every
Mm-hmm.
day. And so, what we figured out, and this piece was Tim and I actually sitting down over lunch one day, and this was on a napkin, and we mapped out what is the purpose of the investments that we do. And I loved it. It gave me a chance to hear Tim's heart. And this is what we came up with. It was, we don't just want profit or income potential from that investment. Yes, that is kind of the point of investing, is profit or income potential. But we also wanted mission focus. And so if we could have an alignment of mission focus and profit and income potential, to us, that's like the holy grail that we wanted to go
Mm-hmm.
after in investing. And so we can actually take those and divide it up into 4 quadrants. Think of a line on the bottom going through saying we want profit and income potential. And then the other axis says we want mission focus.
Mm-hmm.
In those 4 quadrants, where we have profit and income potential, but not as strong of mission alignment. Ideally, we don't want to do things that go against our mission, but maybe there's not direct mission alignment, but there's great profit or income potential. We do some of those investments.
Mm-hmm.
We call that momentum. And, that's momentum, because if
Yep.
things go well, that's going to allow us to put that fuel into the tank.
Money to drive the mission. Yep.
On the opposite side, where there's massive mission focus, but not as much profit or income potential. And maybe that's because we only made a very small investment, or maybe it's because what we were doing, we were concessionary, and it was okay if it was more of just a ministry win instead of an actual profit center. We have a lot of those. In fact, that's the quadrant we have the most things in. And I think that just shows you Tim and Demi Lee's hearts, that they really care about the mission more than anything else. I've never seen people so singularly focused on a mission that profit becomes secondary to the mission. And so if you look at our holdings across the entire organization, the number one place for our holdings is that quadrant. And we call that quadrant ministry, because the idea is there's a lot of mission here, and we don't know if there's going to be profit here or not. And frankly, we don't even actually care, which is the part that I love. And then go to the bottom quadrant there, where maybe there's less profit potential and there's not as strong mission focus. We call that maybe. And a lot of people have said to us along the way, Matt, why would you even do any investments in that quadrant? Here's why we do them. We call them our maybes, because it turns out a lot of those things that we've invested in, it turns out there's more potential for ministry than we ever realized. And some of them, we find out there's way more profit potential than we realized. And so let's double down on that next time, or let's triple down on that strategy next time. And so several of those maybes have actually moved into different quadrants as we move into our second investment with those places. And so last but not least, what happens when momentum, so big profit or income potential, what happens when momentum gets paired up with mission focus or ministry? So what happens when momentum meets ministry? For us, we call that movement. And movement is where we can feel like we can really move the needle through our investing, because there's massive profit potential and there's massive mission focus. So really, we get to make money doing the good that we want to be able to do, so that we can then pour those dollars right back into the fight and do more of it. So the idea is to create some self-funding ministry, so that, again, ideally, our other partners that come alongside and contribute to the Tim Tebow Foundation, ideally, we would love to always be able to say to them that their dollars are going directly to supporting some of the most vulnerable people around the globe instead of having to fund just basic overhead things. So, but to do that, as the foundation continues to grow, we have to continue to grow the for-profit side in a way that allows that to flourish.
How do you determine? One of the difficult things for a lot of people is the orders of magnitude from the source goal, right? So, how many orders do you go? Do you have to look at it from a first order connection with one of your verticals, or can it be a second order kind of a supportive role for those kind of things? And I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, and I can't think of one, but does it have to directly impact human trafficking, for instance?
Yeah, I'll give you some examples, Matt. That our four verticals. So it's orphan care and prevention, it's profound medical needs, it's special needs, and it's anti-trafficking and child exploitation. And so those are our four main verticals. And so, yes, something needs to fall directly into one of those primary verticals for me to really say that's going to hit our movement definition. It needs to directly impact that. Or we put a fifth when we're talking about our investments. This is, overarching theme. If it's sharing the love of Jesus Christ with the world, then that could also be in that direct movement vertical. So some people would call that the gospel, but really the idea of if they're telling the world that ultimately Jesus came and died for you, we would make that fit in the movement quadrant as well. Anything that falls short of one of those five, it's not gonna show up in that direct movement understanding. Now, it might get close to the line, and that's okay. We have those maybes, and we have those things that we have those momentums, where maybe there's not that direct alignment with the mission, but it's still important stuff. It's still stuff we're honored to support. I'll give you a great example. One of the companies we're so honored to do a brand partnership with is a company called Nehemiah Manufacturing. They are one of the leaders in the world of providing second chance employment to individuals that were formerly incarcerated. And they have something like over a 90% retention rate. So, in other words, if you come out of prison and you go to work for Nehemiah Manufacturing, you are going to change your life in a really positive manner. What an awesome example of grace, and what an awesome example of mission focus. It just doesn't happen to align with one of our 4 or 5 clear verticals. So it would be like touching that line, but maybe not all the way across it. But boy, we are so proud to work with Nehemiah Manufacturing and their team. I mean, what a great example of the types of companies we want to be in partnership with.
Now, you, with being as high profile as Tim and Demi Lee are, with everything they're doing publicly and with their history, of course, I'm sure you get tons of deal flow. I mean, there's got to be tons of deals coming your way all the time. How do you even begin to source those? And then you've got a regular diligence process that you would do for any other kind of company, I guess, and probably what you've done in the past. How is it different? How is it nuanced for what you do with the Tebow Group?
Yeah, it is nonstop, Matt. I appreciate you calling that out. And I think that's because, and again, Tim would never say this, Demi Lee would never say this, but what I believe and what I know shows up in the market is that the Tebow name just brings a lot of trust capital with it. And that's because of the way that Tim and Demi Lee have conducted their lives. And in spite of being in the public eye, they have chosen to say it's not about us. And they've made it about the most vulnerable people that they have been given these platforms to represent. And they take that platform so seriously. They would be the first to tell you, Matt, the platform's not theirs. It's theirs to steward. It's theirs to steward on behalf of some of the most vulnerable people around the globe. And so we take diligence extremely seriously. Our number one core value as a company is protect them. And it's how do we protect our ability to serve some of the most vulnerable people? And so there are brand partnerships we would just not consider because they would cease to allow us to protect vulnerable people. Or maybe those brands are doing things that are hurting vulnerable people. That's not something we would want to engage with. And so, yeah, we have a pretty strong filtering process. It's actually an eight-step methodology for diligence. The three that we really talk about publicly are people, product, and purpose. And so we're looking at the people. How are the people wired? Why are they doing this? What's their hope to accomplish? And we want to see that they're trying to accomplish a lot of good. Um, what's the product? What is the product that they're offering? Is it excellent? Do we think it works? Um, we only represent products and companies that we have an authentic care for. We don't fake it. So we only come alongside products and companies that we actually think are good things. And then purpose. Why does this company exist? And what's going to happen if this company continues to do really, really well? What will the outcome of that be? And if those three are things we believe in, the people, the purpose, and the product, if there's real belief in those three, then we go deeper under the hood to our private diligence, which gets to 5 other P's that we think about before we do any type of brand work with a company or invest in a company.
That leads really well into your allocation policy. And that's something that I'm really fascinated by too, because it's kind of unorthodox for most firms in the way they operate. And with you and your background, you've got tremendous experience in this area. You know what it should be by industry standards. So why are you so heavy in some areas and then so light in other, like real estate? Why are you so light in real estate, but so heavy in private equity?
Well, I feel like we're heavy in real estate, Matt. Well, the biggest gap would be if you look at our allocation policy, it's 15% to public equities. And, most family offices you would look at or people you would look at would have a much higher allocation to public equities. The reason we don't is we have a unique position where we can actually influence the outcome of a private business more so than a lot of places can. And we don't take that lightly. I don't say that. I say that with a lot of responsibility behind it. But we know when we invest in a company, there's multiple ways we can move the needle. It's not just our capital. It's also our connections. It's also our audience. If we believe in something and we can share that with our audience, then that's an immediate boost for that business. So part of the reason we're so heavy in private investments, private equity and venture capital is because those are a place we can really move the needle for a lot of these companies to help them go further, faster as a result of us being involved. And so that's a piece of it. So I always tell everyone, I share our allocation policy somewhat publicly, but I tell everyone it's not meant to be a prescription. It's what's right for us, probably not what's right for anybody else. And then we do have a fair amount in real estate. Again, I think it's a lot. And then we also are one of the first family offices that I've seen that has an allocation to sports as one of its areas. And so that obviously comes very natural to us, but we're so proud to be sports investors. So we do a fair amount to venture capital, to sports, and then to private equity. That's a lion's share of where we spend our time. And then everything else kind of fills around that.
When it comes to where the returns go from these investments, how do you determine how much to retain on the investment side and then how much to send over to the philanthropic side? Is it budgeted? Is there a certain percentage allocation? How do you determine how much is going to drive that side and how much is going to continue growing on the other side?
Yeah, so we have a budgeted target we're trying to achieve on an annual basis.
Is it like an endowment, or is it, how do you think about
No,
that?
no. So the way that the Tebow Foundation operates, I think is the right way. They have always been of the philosophy of money in, money out. Like there's work to be done today for vulnerable people. So there hasn't been this time to build up some massive endowment for the foundation because we feel like that wouldn't be proper stewardship at
Mm-hmm.
this time. We have more need than we can fund in any given year. In fact, what I'm so proud of that the foundation has accomplished, they've really taken it so they could scale any of our ministry verticals. They could scale immediately, meaning the only thing holding us back from doing more for more vulnerable people is that funding mechanism. So, so that's really where we start. And what I can tell you, Matt, is Tim and Debbie Lee are so generous. They would have a massive family office if they weren't, but
Mm-hmm.
because they're so generous, and they would never tell you that, but I get to see it, because they're so generous, we're a much smaller family office than people would probably anticipate. And that's because they've given so much away to support some of the most vulnerable people. So, I look like I run this well-oiled machine side, and we do a lot of things really well, but we're actually relatively tiny compared to what a lot of family offices are. But it's because of Tim and Demi Lee's generosity. And so I like to tell everyone we're a smaller family office than a lot, but we way out kick our coverage on influence. And we want to do that well. We want to use that on behalf of the most vulnerable people.
That says a lot coming from you, especially because you've got a tremendous background in that area. You know how to grow these things. And I'm sure that there's got to be some kind of struggle with you at some point saying that this could be growing at this degree, or we could be continuing to do this, but you see the need for the mission, right? Is that,
Yeah.
do you ever feel that tension?
I'm so grateful, Matt. I really haven't. And I've never met two people in the world that care about money only in such a focused manner. It's not about how can they grow net worth or any of that. For Tim and Demi Lee, it's all about how can we get to more kids? How can we accomplish more surgeries? How can we shed a spotlight on more individuals with special needs? That's how they think of money. And so not once have I ever had pressure on me of, hey, we need to drive more profit to have more at the family office, or we need to drive more profit to have more net worth. I've not once had that pressure ever. It's always been, how can we accomplish more for the most vulnerable people? And so because of that alignment, it makes life a lot easier than it would be without that alignment. And for me, um, I'd like to think that's a lot how our family is wired as well. And I like to think that's part of what was so wonderful about bringing me together with Tim and Debbie Lee was
Mm-hmm.
just that there was already this shared heart for the most vulnerable people. I just came with this built-in kind of skill set of building companies and investments to come alongside and just augment the incredible work they were already doing. And make no mistake, Demi Lee is a powerhouse in business in her own right. She could build this thing without me if she wanted to. So I my job is just to come along and augment and help them go further faster. But again, they don't want to do that for themselves. They want to go further faster so that they can help more vulnerable people around the globe. I mean, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so honored I get to be a part of it day in and day out.
Tommy, you've talked so much about Demi Lee and Tim and their mission and what they've built. You are on this mission, this ride with them too, and you've given a pretty good picture of what they hope to see and what they hope to accomplish throughout their life. And it's going to continue to get bigger and bigger. We know that. We see it very clearly in the way you've spoken about the work you're doing. But what about you? When you look back and you see all this, what do you hope is left in your wake when you can look back?
Oh man, I'm so grateful, Matt. I've never needed my name on the door anywhere. So all the companies I've ever built with great partners, my name's not once been on the business. And so I don't need it to be, I don't need my name anywhere. Actually, I love this word picture. There's Tim was testifying at Congress on behalf of some of the most vulnerable children around the world. And this ended up blowing up to like over 1 billion impressions online on social media. And I'm 2 rows behind him when he's testifying to Congress, but my head is cut off. So you never see me. And I think it's a beautiful picture of the role I'm really happy to be in. I'm grateful to be here with you today, but it's not to talk about me and my story. It's so that more people around the globe can understand what the Tim Tebow Foundation is up to. And I just I'm really comfortable to be in that seat, 2 rows behind with my head chopped off on any social media that goes out. I hope that never changes. I really enjoy being in that role, and I think I think for us, the legacy that the Tim Tebow Foundation is leaving, if my kids would feel a part of that in a little way, I'd be thrilled. And if my grandkids felt a part of that in a little way, I'd be thrilled. That's for us what makes it matter. And another one of our core values as a business is we embrace the joy and the burden of the call. And the joy side is, we get to celebrate um, every time someone is rescued from harm's way, or um, that matters so much to us. But the burden side is there's still so much work to do. And I probably err on the side of living in the burden side more than the joy side. Something I probably need to work on as I continue to grow as an individual. But man, it really motivates me, Matt. It keeps me up at night, gets me up early in the morning, keeps me laser focused throughout the day. And I would say that really applies to most of our team. If you came to our headquarters in Jacksonville, Florida, and got to see our team in action, I'd say most of them kind of thrive off of that burden side. And the other side then is, how do you avoid getting burnt out and embracing compassion fatigue and all these things? I think that's where celebrating the joy every now and then when we do get to hear about children that were rescued, or things of that nature. But then let's just get right back to work.
Tommy, I've got a great image of you in Congress, and that shot. I haven't seen the picture or the video, but what I can picture is that your head's cut off, but your heart is what actually remains in it. So you're kind of at the heart of all this. That's where you are. It's just, that was the image that came to me, and I just thought that was a really interesting and fascinating way to kind of tie it all together here at the end.
So good. And Matt, as we wrap it up, let me tell you two of my favorite Tebow stories. Is that okay?
Please,
All right.
please do.
So, I get to see Tim and Demi Lee behind the scenes. And my favorite moment of 2025, or sorry, my favorite moment of 2024, our team is sitting around the table with Tim and Demi Lee. And for about a half hour, the team has just been asking them, do you like doing this? Do you like doing that? We're just thinking about planning out the 2025 strategy. What are we going to do social media wise? How do we want to help allocate time and energy and all those things? And, do you like doing this? Do you like doing that? And Tim and Demi Lee were so gracious to just hear the team out, answer our questions. And then finally, about a half hour in, I remember this vividly. Tim just kind of raises his hand and he's like, can I give you all perhaps a better question? And we all get quiet, right? And then Tim goes on to say, instead of asking us, do we like it? Maybe ask us if it's worth it. Because Demi Lee and I will do a lot of things that we don't necessarily like if it's worth it, because of how it moves the needle for the real MVP. And that just, man, it just stuck with me. It's truly my favorite moment of 2024, working with Tim and Demi Lee. And then I'll leave you with this one other story because I think it encapsulates so much the reason that Tim and Demi Lee have the platform that they have. And it's this. So Tim and I were flying into Jacksonville, Florida, and we landed at the Jacksonville airport. It was Tim, me, and two other colleagues. And we get off the plane. We're walking through the airport, and the two other colleagues and I get down to baggage claim, and we're looking around, and somehow we lost Tim. And he's not like a small individual, Matt. Like, how did we lose Tim in the airport? This is not a massive airport. You take a straight line from leaving the airplane to going to baggage claim. And we're like, where is Tim? And so we go back up. And what had happened was, as we were walking through the airport, there's actually a blind man, had his cane, and he was stuck, couldn't figure out his way out of the airport. And no one was helping him. And so Tim went over and assisted this blind man and walked him through the airport, took him by the arm, walked him through the airport, and helped him find his ride. And I mean, there's so many things that come up as I think about this, Matt. But first, in Jacksonville, Florida, there's not a lot of people that don't know who Tim Tebow is. And so can you imagine, this blind man has no clue that this hometown hero is the one walking him. He's just feeling this like massive bicep the size of my freaking head is the one walking him through the airport, and then helps him get into his car. And I don't know if the driver recognized and knew who Tim was or not. I don't know that part of it. But I just think I love that picture. But what really struck me was, as we were walking through the airport, there were 4 of us that walked by that blind man. Only one of us actually saw him and felt the need and saw the need, and that was Tim. I walked right by that same man and didn't see the need. Now, you're so gracious to say, oh, I see your heart, all those things. Like, yes, I wish I would have seen the need. And had I seen that need, yes, I would have acted on it. But I didn't see the need. And neither did our other 2 colleagues. But Tim saw the need and immediately went over and addressed it. That's just the kind of man that he is. And that's just the kind of woman that Demi Lee is. And so when you put those 2 together, you have this almost uncanny sense of feeling and seeing the needs of some of the most vulnerable people. And that's what I think gives our team so much energy, is because we're falling alongside of people that genuinely care so much.
But it's the journey, and you guys are guiding this journey in a very, very laser-like focus. And it's so impressive to see, Tommy. So thank you for taking this time with me today. Thank you for sharing your story, your side of this great mission. And I certainly wish you and Tim and Demi Lee all the best in the adventures that you have ahead of you.
Well, thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it. So grateful to be here. And everybody listening in, thanks for joining us as well.
All right, thanks, Tommy.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of The Alternative Investor. If you found this valuable, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. This show is brought to you by Honey Hive Capital Partners. Visit us at honeyhivepartners.com to continue your alternative investment journey. This recording represents the views and opinions of its guests and does not reflect the views and opinions of Honey Hive Capital Partners, LLC. Nothing in this recording, nor any communications from it, should be treated as constituting financial, investment, legal, tax, or other advice of any kind, or as a recommendation to buy or sell an interest with respect to any investment. We look forward to you joining us next time.